The voice of the Green Bay Packers on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Joining Josh and I on Inside Wisconsin Sports, an old friend with a new look. Is that a Bucks hat, Wayne? Wayne Larrivee on the Inside Wisconsin Sports.
No, that's Deer Valley ski area in Park City, Utah. Yeah.
Of course. Hi, Wayne. Good to see you, bud.
Skier.
Good to see you, Josh. How you doing?
I'm great. I'll be a lot better with a win tonight.
Won't we all?
Yeah.
All right, Wayne. So according to the research that we did on this end, this is your how many Monday Night Football games for the Packers? Is it number 32 tonight? Do you know?
Boy, I don't have any clue. No.
I think it's 32. I think this is your 32nd Monday Night Football game.
Wow.
For the Green Bay Packers. That's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah. A lot of Monday night games. We don't like Monday night games, but
why?
We have to play them.
Why don't you like them?
I don't like them because it throws the next week totally out of sorts. You know what I mean? It's a very short week just for prep, and getting to know the Giants and that type of thing. But no, it's good. And it's good to have Monday night games that really mean something. And this is a fork in the road maybe for these two teams at this stage of the game.
So, Wayne, this has been a frustrating year to try to lock in on what this Packers team is. And after the last game against Carolina, I kind of just said the identity of this team is that they're going to play to their competition, which doesn't leave a lot of room for error, especially against a team like Philly. How would you describe the identity of this current Packers team?
Yeah, you know what? They're a little inconsistent, I would say. They've had some good highs. They've had some just like dumbfounding lows, where you go to Cleveland, you're a solid 7.5, 8-point favorite, and you lose. And you've got Carolina coming in, and you're a 12.5-point favorite, and you lose. Those are the moments that really, everybody. But you know what? If you look around the league, almost everyone, except maybe the Colts and the Patriots, have moments like that. And there's just no consistency even this late in the season. If you look at the NFC right now, the two best teams in the NFC are both in the NFC West, okay? The Rams and Seattle. There's nobody in the league playing better than them. The team playing the best in the NFC North is Chicago. I think they've won 4 in a row. Down south, Tampa Bay, the injuries are catching up with them. That was a big game for them yesterday, a big measuring stick game against a New England team that not many people believe in, but has a great record. And New England went in there and handled business. And then you look at the Eagles. The last 2 weeks, they look like the Super Bowl Eagles. But before then, they were up and down and really skitsy as well. So everybody's got these warts on their record, it seems like. Some have a few more than others.
The voice of the Green Bay Packers, Wayne Larrivee, joining us on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Well, you said the word consistency, and so too did Matt LaFleur in his presser over the weekend, and how he was looking for consistent football in all 3 phases of the game. Yet one could argue one of the most inconsistent things about the Packers this year has been the coaching and maybe the play calling. How do you see that shaking out with the Pack tonight?
Well, you know what? I call plays. I'm not a play caller. That's how I look at that. I think that a lot of times Coach LaFleur, he probably goes with his gut on certain things. And if it works out, he's a genius. If it doesn't, everybody's on him for the next 7 days. It's a tough job. There's no doubt about that, to be the head coach and the play caller on offense, because so much is on your plate. But, that's the case in Green Bay. By the way, became the case yesterday in Detroit. They put up one of their big 500-yard games. So, it's tough, Trevor. I mean, people, if things don't work out, people look at it and say, wow, how could he have made that call? But if things work out, then it's like, oh, wow, these guys are genius. They're well coached. I can tell you this, around the league, people feel like the Packers are a very well-coached team on offense and defense. And that's what the feeling is around the league. And there's, one of the better constructors of plays, a guy who puts plays together, is Matt LaFleur. He's one of the better X's and O's guys in the league. And so sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, because once you send in the play, it's up to the Jimmies and Joes to run it effectively.
So there have been multiple criticisms of Matt LaFleur throughout the season. One of those being the inconsistency, another being just the fan base not knowing what he's going to do. I feel like with Dan Campbell, for example, Wayne, you know he's going to go for it. You know he's going to be aggressive. That's kind of the type of coach he is. You said Matt likes to go with his gut. Does that not leave room for inconsistency? And doesn't that affect the players as well?
I suppose it could. But I don't know that it does. I just think Matt LaFleur is one of these coaches who takes into consideration all of the information available to him, the analytics, in other words. And then I think in some situations, not all, but he probably goes with his gut and says, gosh, I know what the analytics say, but we've got to play for this. We've got something we can do to get this first down, to get this. Now, again, I think what you guys are hinting at and talking about is 4th and 8 last week against Carolina. Instead of taking the points, went for it on 4th and 8. And you know what? That's something Matt LaFleur admitted was not the right thing to do as well. Take the points. You got 11 minutes to go in the game. You got the majority of the fourth quarter to go. You're going to get the ball back. And, the closer you are, the better your chance of winning it. But Matt, I think felt like he had a play there and it blew up right away. That's the only problem. And so, it didn't work out and the Packers end up losing to Carolina. And now everybody in your business, in my business too, they're all on Matt LaFleur.
Luke Musgrave was drafted to be who Tucker Kraft became. Now's your opportunity, bud. And yet there's a lot of people saying that he won't be able to replace his yards after the catch, as well as Kraft's blocking ability. If you had to choose one that you want him to fill the void of, which one is it?
Downfield receiver. They need a receiver downfield that can threaten the seam. And I think he can do that. Is he Tucker Kraft? No, he's never was expected to be Tucker Kraft. They drafted Tucker Kraft to do all the things, a complete tight end. They drafted Luke Musgrave to make plays at tight end. So he's going to get his opportunities, you pointed out. I think he'll be up to the task, but don't expect him to be the same player, receiver, and leader that Tucker Kraft is.
Wayne, obviously, Micah Parsons joining the team has been fun from a fan standpoint. From you in the booth and just looking at kind of what this defense has needed for the last couple of years, how exciting have those calls been when you've been able to see Micah Parsons rushing and pressuring the quarterback?
Yeah, exciting stuff because, he made the sack of Jared Goff that basically ended the Lions game on opening day. And then he had the great game at Arizona, but nobody is making it easy on him. And it's been kind of tough to watch him try to wade through the double teams, the chip blocks and everything else. And everyone schemes away from him. Now it's made Rashawn Gary a more productive player in that regard. But that has to continue to evolve. Parsons is doing his part. But the thing I saw in the Carolina game, and I think Philadelphia may do this to an extent tonight, is control the game. If you run the football, control the game, and don't put your passing attack in harm's way. I think they had 24 dropbacks in the Carolina game, did the Panthers. They ran the football effectively. Well, they've got a better runner here. I mean, Saquon Barkley's, Rico Dowdle's having a tremendous year. Saquon Barkley's 10 times better runner, okay? Eagles' offensive line, much better than the makeshift unit we saw in Green Bay. So, Josh, these are concerning points going into the game tonight for the Packers.
Did you know it was the Packers' fault that the particular quarterback that's going to run all over us potentially tonight came from that game in 2020? Do you remember that game where Carson Wentz got benched?
Yeah, that was in Green Bay. It was a late Sunday afternoon game in Green Bay. One of the featured games, and the Packers were kind of romping. I think it's the last time the Packers beat the Eagles, if I'm not mistaken. Jalen Hurts burst on the scene. Carson Wentz just wasn't doing it, as we've seen in Minnesota earlier this year. But this Jalen Hurts runs the offense well. He's very smart and accurate. And the big thing about him, guys, is, I think you have to play zone in the secondary against him. Why? Because you need eyes on him, because he finds those lanes. It looks like you've got a cage rush him, as Tom Brady would say. In other words, put a cage around him. But if there's a sliver of an opening in that cage, he'll find it and exploit it. And that's the reason why that's the big reason why you've got to play zone in this game. I think the Packers will play too high shell in this game, and I think they will play zone underneath it. Whereas the Eagles, you'll see them tonight play a lot of two safeties deep, a Tampa 2 shell, but they'll play man underneath that. And I would expect the Carter kid, Michael Carter, whom they got from the Jets, to play a role of this game tonight. Jair Alexander's not made the trip.
Yeah, Jair's staying home. That was the storyline for about 30 seconds, and then it went away. Let's talk about the running game and Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs has still been Josh Jacobs, but the running game hasn't been as dominant for the Packers. Now with Tucker Kraft out, a lot of people thinking that's going to make it even more difficult. Last week against Carolina, there were people saying they've got to run the ball more. We heard on the TV broadcast them saying why they got to run it more, but then it was, why are they running it? Just keep passing the ball. Where do you see the running game, and how much is it going to be utilized tonight?
Yeah, the running game's been a little spotty, as has the team and the offense in general. Good moments, bad moments. I think they're about to get Jacobs on track. And I agree with you, Josh. It's not been his fault. If you look at the analytics, nobody gets hit quicker behind the line of scrimmage on a running play than Josh Jacobs. He is among the league leaders in yards after contact. The problem is the contact is coming very early. I think one of the better analytics is for an offensive line, how well they're playing is yards before contact. And if it's 1 to 2 yards before contact, as it was for Saquon Barkley last year, you're going to run for 2,000 yards. But that's on the offensive line. And the offensive line this year has been different. We all know that. And it quite frankly hasn't performed as well as we all thought it would. Now, part of it's injury, part of it is player moving from guard to center. There's a lot of variables that go in there, and they still have a chance to be a very good offensive line, and we see signs of that. But they've got to be healthy, and they've got to play together a little bit more, because that cohesion of the offensive line is everything when it comes to the ground game.
The voice of the Green Bay Packers, Wayne Larrivee, joins us on Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh. Wayne, your cohort on the Larrivee and LePay podcast is feeling better today than he most likely was before the game this past weekend. What's it going to feel like for us tomorrow morning? Meaning, what needs to happen tonight for Packers fans to go, okay, all right, we're good? Because I don't know if it's just a win.
I think a win is the biggest thing. Last week, John Kuhn asked me, well, what are we going to learn from the Carolina game? And I said, we're going to learn nothing. Whether they win or lose, we'll learn nothing, okay? The measuring stick, the fork in the road is Philadelphia. Win or lose against Carolina, Philadelphia is the fork in the road. I hate to say this, football people hate to say this, because you know what? Even if they lose and lose bad to Philadelphia tonight, you know what? You still got another 8 games left?
Mm-hmm.
Really? So it's not the end of the season for those players and coaches. I can guarantee you that. But it's a big moment in the NFC race. Are the Packers legitimate contenders? If they are, they win this game. They find a way to win this game against a Philadelphia team that most people around the league rank ahead of them in the NFC. I mean, if you stack the NFC this morning, guys, would you have a problem with this? Rams, Seahawks, Philadelphia Eagles, Detroit Lions, those are the top 4 teams, and then maybe the Green Bay Packers at that point. And all of them, this will all change as the season goes along, but that's where these teams are right now, and that's how they're playing. Oh, and by the way, you think this is, you really want to bet on this? You really want to invest money in this gambling stuff in these games? Look what Carolina's done in the last 3 weeks. They got boat raced by Buffalo 49-7 at home. Come to Green Bay and win 16-13. Go home and face the worst team in the NFC, the New Orleans Saints, and get hammered by them at home. So, this is crazy. It's week to week. And if people think the Packers team that played against Carolina is going to be the team that takes the field tonight, I got some news for you. That's not going to be the case. I think they're going to play a lot better. And I think, as my partner Larry McCarron says, redemption is a great motivator. You lose at home to that Carolina team the way they did, you're seeking redemption.
Wayne, what is the key factor in that redemption game for them tonight if it goes that way? What's the thing that we are talking about tomorrow going, that was the key reason why they turned this around and played better.
I think they've got to establish the running game early. Won't be easy, but they have to. Philadelphia has struggled in that area defensively. And then I think really you've got to take your spots and pick your spots downfield in the passing game. Philadelphia's had trouble on the corner, opposite of Quinyon Mitchell. They've had a lot of trouble at corner. That's why they brought in Michael Carter. That's why they traded for Jair Alexander. I have no idea why they did that. And I'm sure Howie Roseman right now is scratching his head as well. If not Howie, then their general manager, then the coaching staff is probably scratching their head. But they have really struggled at that position. Cooper DeJean has turned into a star. He is a star. And, we were – those of us who are covering that draft 2 years ago, we were all over Cooper DeJean for 3/4 of the first round of the draft. The Packers didn't take him, and the Eagles got him somehow in the second round. He's a star. And he'll play in the slot, but he's playing more outside now out of necessity. So I think you'll see Carter in the slot. You'll see Cooper DeJean outside making plays, and that's what he does. And, Quinyon Mitchell is becoming one of the better young cornerbacks in the league. But the Packers have to pick their spots, and I think they've got to control the clock against this team. You don't want to be fooling with this Philadelphia offense because Barkley is cranking it up, and those two outside receivers, I would dare say when they're right, and it's A.J. Brown is not always right, but when he is, they're as good as the Cincinnati duo, maybe better.
You got your hand warmers ready, man? It's going to be chilly tonight.
Is it? But I'm disappointed no snow. Chicago got snow. It looked great yesterday. Boy, they're playing well. I mean, they're here they are.
Yeah, I don't like that, Wayne. I don't like that.
I don't either. But here they are slugging it out and trailing most of the game against a bad team. And they do what good teams do. They found a way to win. And, I expected the Carolina game to go exactly the way it did last week, guys, except I expected the Packers to be the team that found the way to win. Unfortunately, Carolina popped a 19-yard run late, set up a field goal to win the game. It's the way it goes in the NFL. There were perplexing losses by the Packers in 2010 about this time of year, and we all kind of wrote them off, but they were able to put it together. And I think regardless of what happens tonight, there's still much of this season to go. But I think if you are wondering where the Packers are at midseason, this game tells you everything you need to know.
The voice of the Green Bay Packers, Wayne Larrivee on Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh. Wayne, have a great 30-second Monday Night Football call for the Packers tonight. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. I'm glad somebody's keeping track of that.
Yeah,
These late nights are getting to me.
See you, buddy. Good to see you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
have a good one, guys.